What's up guys, Intellitech Studios here, and today we'll be doing a bit of an interesting video. Less so about specifically vacuum cleaners, and more so a little chit-chat. A little nice, relaxing celebration of the serene kind. As some of you may know, I recently surpassed 1,000 YouTube videos, which is definitely not a small feat in terms of quantity at least. But just today, or I would have said today, but it's 12:15, just yesterday technically, I surpassed the date where I initially created this YouTube channel, June 15th, 2015. For those of you keeping score at home, that's 8 years. And also it's worth noting that that marks 5 years since I initially started, well, doing videos on vacuums, which is the main purpose of this channel nowadays. I mean, you can see several in the background right behind me. Because as those of you who have been with the channel for a while, you know that the types of videos I was doing before 2018 June was stuff like these. I don't know why I showed these as examples, because these did not exist yet. More so something like this. And if you like that sort of stuff, then go subscribe to Intellitech Mobile, where I do reviews on cell phones, video game consoles, and various other items that I used to make content on in the infancy of this channel. But since June of 2018, in fact, right around this time, around my birthday, was when I did those, at this point, infamous videos on the Bissell Power Force Bag 3522-5 and the DC-14 Animal, and the rest was history. Almost 13,000 subscribers later, and however many views, I haven't actually checked to see what my total view count is, but we do have our most popular video, which is Vacuum Saved Episode 24, Bissell Edition, yet again. I still don't understand why that video is so popular, but nevertheless, it's almost at 1 million views, so thank you for that. I don't know how, but thank you for that, because that's pretty cool. But anyways, we'll do a little bit of a talk as to why I started a channel in the first place, to kind of explain how we got here. Now, in the beginning, or at least the beginning of when I started making a YouTube channel, my logic for creating a YouTube channel was kind of part of my general philosophy, which is, when it comes to something that I feel improves my life, and this is gonna be super cliche. I know it's gonna sound like I'm hyping myself up unnecessarily. That's not the point. That's not the intended purpose. You'll understand what I mean whenever I finish the initial thought. So, I'm not the type of person where I like to utilize help from somebody without giving something in return. For example, you know, if a friend needs a ride somewhere, I'm not going to want to take them up on an offer to get a ride somewhere unless I offer them that first, or something that I feel is equivalent. I don't like to feel like I'm taking more than I'm giving, so to speak. And when it comes to YouTube, ever since I was 6, 7, in the earliest days of YouTube, the earliest days, I always enjoyed YouTube. It was my go-to form of entertainment ever since my mom and dad had computers that were modern enough to run YouTube on their, at the time, current web browsers, usually Internet Explorer 7. As my dad had a computer running Windows XP, my mom had just gotten a brand new computer at the time running Windows Vista, and I definitely wanted to explore the internet. So I got on YouTube, because I don't know how I learned about YouTube, but I got on there, watched a bunch of videos, and I watched a bunch of vacuum videos, which we'll get to the story of that in a minute. But, and by the way, I should preface this, I know we're already 5 minutes in, but this is going to be a long video, so grab a drink, grab a snack, sit back, relax, enjoy the vibes for a little bit. Okay? So, what basically happened is, over time, I started watching more and more YouTube. I just seemed to find it more interesting than sitting down and watching a cartoon. At the time, I had undiagnosed high-functioning autism, so this may be part of it, part of the ADHD, a lot of stuff of that, maybe like a lack of being able to kind of sit down and focus on something for a long period of time, but at the same time, being so young and undiagnosed, not understanding what that was, I would imagine that short form content like YouTube just kind of drew me in. And there was a lot of good examples of that. Because by this point, when I was 6, 7, 8, by this point I had already begun being interested in vacuums for several years at this point. Which again, we'll circle back to that later. Right now we're focused on the YouTube part. I would a lot of times find myself watching vacuum-related content. A lot of people breaking vacuums, channels like Smash Stuff 30 and Destruction Fun 1, and there's so many other. Some of these are from the time, and some of these are later. Vacuums getting broken by like controlled explosions, and I forgot what the name of this channel was. They smashed a bunch of stuff. This is just another example that popped in my head of where I know they broke a Kenmore, and they did like a mock infomercial, and they called it the Clean Your Crud Vacuum 3000. I forgot the name of the channel, but there's a ton of examples like that. Just young adults or kids just messing around, destroying a vacuum because why not? Smash my vacuum. Just so many examples. There's one video I remember as an example of, this is from Destruction Fun 1, where the two hosts were grabbing two vacuums, a Eureka and a Phantom, with their cords tied together, and like tied them to like a four-wheeler or something, and like yanked them all throughout their yard and smashed both the vacuums. Those videos are long gone. At least the one I just referenced is long gone. But there's just a lot of stuff like that, and it just kind of drew my attention in for some reason. And vacuum review channels as well. There was this guy, he ran a website called DysonAnimalReview.com. His name was, I think he said his name was Randy Rhoads. Not related to the musician Randy Rhoads, who like compared his DC-07 on his Berber carpet to a Kirby in a self-propelled wind tunnel. And there's so many of these videos are just lost media at this point, but there's a lot of stuff like that. And there's some vacuum review channels from back then that I still watch to this day. Phantom Lightning, Vacmaster the Great, now known as EP Junkyard, Stars 1976, Phantom Vacuum Fan, so many of these like really great people. And so when I turned 15, or when I was about to turn 15, I should say, I saw a lot of other people making YouTube videos, and I thought, well, I've enjoyed YouTube for this many years, why don't I give this a shot? I'm not doing much of anything else. This was at a time in my life where, this is probably the autism kicking in, where a lot of adults would say, oh, you're so well spoken for your age, which to me is like kind of translates to like you're an old soul. But they'd say, oh, there's a train going by. They'd say, oh, you're so well spoken for your age, you should, even like people back then said, oh, you should make a podcast, you should do whatever, and you should make was SoundCloud a thing back then? I don't remember, because I played music too. And what happened a lot is I started posting some videos on Facebook. I need to go back and delete those. I posted videos on Facebook, like showing like my gaming console setup that I had set up at my old house. And a lot of times, a couple people seem to enjoy watching them. So a lot of times, I would just end up wanting to do videos. Like, especially back then, I was watching a lot of classic Game Room and stuff like that. So initially the channel was born. Initially was born as that GTA Fan 720, which was my Xbox gamer tag at the time. Ironically, it wasn't my gamer tag yet because I hadn't had the money to change it, because you had to pay to change your gamer tag on the 360. And of course, yes, this is 2015, but I still only had a 360. Well, I had a PS4, but either way. So I made the channel, and the first ever video I did was called a triple unboxing from Amazon. The idea was I was going to get a few products, unbox them on camera, talk about them, and do full reviews on them. Those 2 items, I say 3 because I bought, there's an Ethernet switch and an HDMI scaler. Still have those to this day. Never quite did a review on them. I'm wondering if on Intellitech Mobile if I should review those. Be like how good they are 8 years later. That'd be kind of funny, actually. So, who knows, I may do that. But the logic was, I'm just going to start this as if I'm already established, which is a good way of going about it, because it makes it seem like you're relatively serious and like you're not, no, this is my channel, this is, which those are still fine, but it's kind of like, you know, manifest essentially what you're trying to become. It's essentially like the YouTube equivalent of dressing for the job you want, not the job you have. So at the time, I filmed that video on my crappy LG K10. Oh, God, that was a garbage phone. And I uploaded it, and then I did a video on the HD DVD drive. I did a video on the, I think it was something related to the PS4 controller. I think I did a crappy review on the 360 that I had. Just more and more stuff just started coming out. And, you know, I tried to do like the Review Tech USA sort of commentary where I'd like crudely play GTA with the camera pointed at it as I attempted to talk while I was playing, which I was not good at. And God, those videos are terrible. Please, nobody go back and watch those videos. I'm probably thinking about privating them. But anyways, so I did that for a couple years, and the first review that ever really sort of like took off was, I'm pretty sure, this, if I remember correctly. It was my review on the Galaxy Note Edge. I think this was the first review that really started to kind of pick up in views. But here's the problem, and this is why this has now been delegated to a second channel. The market for reviewing phones is really saturated. Now, granted, the reason why I think Intellitech Mobile is doing as good as it is because I think there's a pretty big shortage of good used phone reviews of older cheap phones, because there's only really 2 channels out there that do reviews on older phones. One of them is not that great, like the guy doesn't do a lot of research and it just kind of comes off as not really serious. Then the other guy doesn't upload nearly as often. So I think that's why. And my logic at the time was, well, maybe I can break through. But I still had a big problem, which was, I don't know how to shut up. Like, seriously, this is something I still struggle with to this day. And some people say they really like it about my channel, and I'd love to get honest feedback about this in the comments. But then there's other people where I still get comments on older videos after I've changed this, where they'll be like, I don't care about your cat, I don't care about where you got this from, just show me how to put the damn vacuum together. And I totally get that. And obviously I've changed a lot of that since then to kind of make it a little bit easier. And at the time, I could tell that I was losing interest. I was getting a little bit burnt out. And this would have been like 2018. So I thought, let me take this into a different direction, because at the time I only had like 300 something subscribers. So note that they're about 300 to maybe 350, 400 subscribers, at least as of when I started doing the vacuum videos full time, are from the previous era of the channel. So you see my current sub count. It's at like 12, I think it's at like 12,400 roughly. So round that down to basically 12,000, and that's like my true subscriber count based on the content that's been on the channel since 2018, which is the vacuum cleaners. So the reason why I started doing videos on vacuum cleaners again was because I was getting really burnt out on the phones. I saw what other people were doing with vacuum related content at the time, both from the previous channels that I mentioned that I still watched, and also I don't think I knew about Vacuum Wars yet at the time, but I did know about, there's a lot. I'm trying to remember what channels even inspired me to do this again in 2018. To tell you the truth, I really can't remember, because I was not aware of Vacuum Wars, and I was not aware of a lot of other channels. I knew Ibasiac, I think. I don't know what else, honestly. So I can't tell you for sure what was the video or the channel that I saw in this time in 2018 that made me think to do those videos and start going in that direction. I wish I had a better answer, but I don't. But nevertheless, something clicked, and I thought, it's my birthday, so I have an excuse to deviate from my normal content. So I'll do a video on this Bissell that I've had for, at that point, 10 years. I'll do a video on this Bissell I've had for a decade or whatever. I've had that Bissell for the majority of its life. It was only 4 years old whenever I picked it up, and I've had it for the majority of its life. That's the only vacuum from before 2018 that I still have. The only one. And that machine I've had the longest out of any machine. There's different times in my life where I got in and out of vacuum collecting, but I have been fixing and collecting them on and off since 2005. So, and that's a separate. I think I'll do that separately in a separate video. Right now we're just talking about the channel. But anyways, so again, I don't remember off the top of my head what clicked and what showed me that this was the way to do it, but I started doing videos. I started doing a bunch of demos of vacuums that I was getting. I bought a lot of Bissells back then. I mean, all this is back on the channel. You guys can go back and see all this. That was when I got, obviously that DC-14 was the first Dyson I had in a while. I got other Dysons, got a DC-07, got a few other Power Forces and Clean Views. I remember the Kenmore Progressive. I remember the Kenmore Destiny Plus. What other vacuums have I had? I'm trying to think what vacuums I got in 2018. The Big Green, I still have that. Point is that's when it just kick-started again. And again, I don't remember all the details, but obviously some of you guys seem to enjoy it. I made a lot of friends with a lot of vacuum collectors at the time, a lot of the smaller channels that were just up and coming. A lot of them. Just a shout out to a lot of those people. And I wish I remembered exactly who they were, but there was a ton of them at the time. But yeah, I eventually started collecting again, obviously, and now my collection has ballooned pretty quickly. I mean, the last few years, I've been getting so many vacuums, and I know I've had a lot of requests to do a updated vacuum collection tour. The reason why I haven't up until now is because I have so many that it's kind of disorganized, and I'm kind of embarrassed about how poor quality the actual rooms are that they're in. But I'm sure you guys don't care, so I'll probably do that video very soon, also to celebrate this milestone. Because I know the last collection video I did was, what, 2019? 2020? It's been a few years, literally a few years. So, yeah, so I'm going to have to do that again. But at this point, I probably have about 200 vacuum cleaners. I haven't counted in a while, but I definitely getting a lot more than I've been selling, which is unfortunate because I'm trying to sell 30 of them. So anyways, this not Kenmore, this Panasonic is for sale. a bunch of other machines as well. But anyways, so I just kept doing the content, and you guys seem to enjoy it for some reason. I noticed the demos that I was doing on the Bissell vacuums were the first things to really sort of pop off. Power Force Turbo, Clean V2 Deluxe, Power Glide Platinum, all my Power Forces, they all just started climbing in views, probably because they're super common and a lot of people are curious about them. So Bissell stuff, just again, my most popular video at this point has almost a million. Let me actually check this. What is this? What is this ridiculous video at right now? Because I haven't checked my stats in a while. Okay, I'm on the wrong channel here. That's Intellitech Mobile. Let me go back to Studios. But I know that video is crazy. Yeah, so I have 12,600 subs right now. Wow. I haven't checked this in a while. Let's see. Analytics. Can I do it based off of views? No. There's probably a way to do this. But that video, sort by most viewed. What is this at? 924,000 views for episode 24 of Vacuum Saved. That is insane. I still can't believe that. And then I still have some videos up top that aren't even vacuum related, kind of clogging this up. But, and see, there's some of these Bissell demos, Power Force Turbo 85. Yeah, some of these are just crazy. But the seeing that, and also seeing how many other people like these vacuums, it's like that I wasn't I wasn't weird per se. It's funny, I do remember watching the TLC of like the kid who has vacuums and fixes vacuums, and me thinking, oh, maybe it isn't so weird. And yeah, so it's crazy, but I still find myself at a loss for words at how successful this channel has become. I mean, granted, I noticed the growth recently has been kind of stagnant. I'm trying to kind of freshen it up a little bit to kind of help that a little bit, because I've noticed I've been stuck at 12,000 for a while. But at the same time, my subscriber growth has always been very slow but very steady. So I can't complain too much. I would rather have a sub growth that climbs slowly than one that drastically dips and spikes. So to all 12,000, what is the number? God darn it. To all 12,648 of you, thank you. And counting. So, anyways, it's weird. Now I'm kind of stuck as far as what to talk about next, because obviously there's a lot of like, I don't even know what to say at this point, because there's obviously a lot of other vacuum YouTubers at this point, so it's kind of hard to say like, well, I don't understand why people choose me of all people. I mean, obviously you don't have to choose. I have 13 million views in total. Holy crap. But I don't want to, so what I've tried to do, because obviously, because there's a bit more of a spotlight on vacuum collectors now, the market is starting to become a little bit more saturated on YouTube. There are newer channels popping up that are doing really well. And the lane that I've tried to carve out is similar. It's kind of analogous to what we've seen a lot with the phone YouTubers and the tech YouTubers. There's a lot of tech YouTubers out there that are trying to be like the MKBHD, essentially, where it's all flashy, there's good visual effects, there's a bunch of graphics flashing on the screen, there's perfect voiceover, perfectly scripted. Then there's like Flossie Carter, for example, where it's just sitting in front of a camera, talking about the product, showing you what's important, and giving you an honest opinion, and not trying to make it seem like I'm trying to be flashy and sell you anything. And that's essentially what my goal is. I'm not flashing fancy graphics on the screen. I'm not trying to read everything off a spec sheet. I've seen so many videos like this from big vacuum YouTubers where they literally just read the specs off a spec sheet and say, well, this one's better because the specs are better. And they give you, there's even one where they said, oh, our new goal is to never give any opinions. And I'm like, I don't know how to say this, but that's literally useless. What are you providing other than just simply a spec sheet in video form? Which, sure, some people may want that, but you're not really helping anybody. So what I try to do is, hey, I have 200 vacuums. So if your vacuum that you want, that I'm reviewing, can't compare to all these other examples in some positive way, then it's probably not a good vacuum. And that's a perfectly fair thing to say. Because, for example, if there's a machine that has a fancy new brush roller design that's featured in all their marketing, but it cleans worse than 99.9% of all the machines I have, that's not a good design. So I don't just come at it from the perspective of I'm a normal consumer, or I'm a vacuum collector, or I'm a repair technician. I come at it from what I like to think is a perfect balance of all those combined. I'm not just a user, I'm not just a collector, I'm not just a repair technician. There's channels that fit all of those lanes. But what I try to do is strike a reasonable balance between all of those, and also be a voice for the people that are very picky about their vacuum purchases. Because yes, a vacuum by definition is not going to be as picky of a purchase as a larger appliance that's much more of a burden if it's the wrong thing, like a refrigerator or a washer dryer or a stove. It's nothing like that. It's not a car, but it's also not a commodity that you expect to replace every year. I mean, some people think it is, but it shouldn't be. It's not. And that's also why I like being in the lane that I'm in, because there's very few bigger channels out there. I don't know if I can call myself bigger, but there's very few like mid-sized channels out there that are willing to point out the fact that you don't need to spend $1 million on a machine to get something that can last. And this is something that I've maintained. Doesn't matter how many SIBOs and Lindhouses and Phantoms and Milas that I use, I will always point out the truth that there are still budget machines out there that I recommend that you can still buy and have no shame in using. And to me, instead of shaming the customer for not taking care of their machine and saying, this person abused this machine, this is what happens when people buy cheap vacuums, I like to educate people. Be like, this is how you take care of your vacuum. This is how you do it. It's this easy. It's not complicated. I'll help you through it. Just do this. Remember to do this as best you can, and your vacuum will last. And you won't have to invest in a new one every year. It'll be an actual investment. And I think that's important. I think that's something a lot of people are missing from the industry. And that's one of the things that I try to provide the best, because not many other places will you find an objective review. Like seriously, if there's any other examples, let me know. But I don't know any other channel that will show you an objective review on a Bissell Power Force and an objective review on a SIBO Automatic X7 and give you the honest to God truth about both of them. And so what I'm trying to do, because there's that lane that I feel like I've carved out, my goal at this point is to refine it more and more, because at the end of the day, your message can get lost in the delivery, which is why I'm trying to get myself to be better at not being so long-winded and not repeating myself and at not sort of burying the lead. And this is something I still struggle with in a lot of my videos. You notice I'll record a video that to me is a 10-12 minute video, and I hit upload and it's 29 minutes. And I'm just like, and then I'll think to myself, this is the third time I've recorded this. What do I do? And I get comments from you guys saying, no, this is great. You covered everything. You know, you made a lot of good points. But then there's still that feeling like I still feel like I talked way too much. So that's the biggest thing that I'm still working on and still kind of struggling, because there's so many reviews that are 8 minutes long where you don't learn anything. And my reviews are supposed to be in depth. You learn every possible thing that you could like or dislike about the vacuum. And I'm not telling you to like or dislike it. I'm telling you what the facts are. I'm telling you what my opinion is and how my opinion relates to the facts, if that makes any sense. So basically, you know, for example, this vacuum is lighter in physical weight than this vacuum, but its handle weight is more than this vacuum. Therefore, I prefer using this vacuum because it causes me less pain, it causes me less discomfort while I'm cleaning, despite the fact that other channels will simply tell you, oh, the weight's more, therefore it's worse. When in practical reasons, that's just objectively not true. And so anyways, see, I'm doing the exact thing that I just said I'm trying not to do. So that's one thing I still need to work on. And thank you to those of you who are bearing with me as I try to improve the videos every day. Because I don't like editing. I hate editing. It's a pain. I don't like doing it. It's the thing I like the least about videos. And I'm sure anybody watches my channel and they think, yeah, we know you suck at editing. But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to do is trying to get myself to convey what I need to convey about each machine in a way that feels more like a natural conversation and not a jumpy, cut up, overly produced studio mess. This is not a studio. I'm not a paid 9-to-5 reviewer of a tech company where I sit down with a product for 6 minutes and try to write an entire article or make an entire video based on what everyone else has already said. It's not my point. I work from home. I make all these videos in my actual house. My house is not pretty. It's nothing special. I live in a fixer-upper that's in terrible condition. But it's real. It's real. It's honest. And it's genuine. At least to the best of my ability it is. Because I'm not going to claim that I'm unbiased. I never have. At least I hope I haven't. I don't mean to, at least. Because there's no such thing as being unbiased. It's not a thing. But what you can do is try to diminish your biases as much as you can, and for the biases that you can't necessarily diminish, acknowledge it and be upfront about it. Don't pretend like you're being objective when the only reason why you're reviewing something so positively is because you're trying to sell one or 10 or 100. And that's very important, because I'm trying to sell this Panasonic, this exact Panasonic. But am I going to tell you it's perfect? No. It has a little bit of bearing noise, but it runs pretty okay. You should buy it. So you might be wondering at this point, okay, this has been going on for 34 minutes and 16 seconds. Where do we end up? So we know where we started. We started 8 years ago. With these, we started 5 years ago. So the question at this point is, where do we go from here? Because that's very important. Because when you're making a video acknowledging how many years you've been on YouTube and how thankful you are of the community, you're not just gonna sit there and be like, well, this is great, let's keep this going. No, you're gonna You're going to say, like, not only what are you going to try to improve, which I think I just touched on that, but also, where do we go from here? Because obviously, my hope is that I get more good feedback from you guys. I change what needs to be changed. I make the videos better, hopefully, so that way more people watch and more people are able to easily digest the messages I'm trying to convey in all of my reviews and all of my repair videos. And hopefully, we can get to the point where we reach a bit of a broader audience. Which some may argue we already have to an extent. Once in a while I'll get comments like that. Like, oh, you helped me fix my vacuum. Thank you, you're a lifesaver. One thing that I would love to that I love to mention and that I want to mention right now is that I've noticed that I've gotten a lot, and this is not hyperbole. I've gotten dozens of messages, like personal messages from parents who have said, your videos have inspired my kid to start fixing vacuums or to start collecting vacuums, or my 3-year-old kid, my 5-year-old kid watches your videos and we put it on the TV and they love it. Or, you know, my kid also has autism and he's also interested in vacuum cleaners. You know, it's really weird to me, and it's not weird. That's the wrong choice of words. It's really unexpected. Let me rephrase this. I didn't expect that there would be this much of a positive. What's the positive version of a backlash? Of a positive response to what I otherwise thought was just me vlogging broken vacuums that I got. But I certainly welcome it. And it does make me wonder, like, you know, in a decade and a half, if YouTube's still around, which I hope it is, it probably will be to some degree or another. It makes me wonder, like, what new channels are we going to see pop up in this community? Like, if the ball is rolling this soon, which makes sense because it did for me. You know, I started watching videos on vacuums when I was 5 years old. And not 5 years old because YouTube didn't exist then, but I started fixing and collecting vacuums initially. Obviously, there have been waves since before 2018. They kind of came and went in waves. But it started in 2005 when I was 5 years old. So where does that go with a lot of these kids that are watching the channel now, that are in some cases mimicking what they see? That's part of the reason why I've never changed my intro, because I've gotten like clips sent to me of parents recording their kids going, "What's up, guys? Intellitech Studios is vacuum safe," and it's, oh my god, it melts my heart so much. It really does. I can't tell you how many times I've like thought to myself, like, oh my god. Because look, I'm not gonna like air my dirty laundry out on YouTube, so to speak, but like a lot of other people, I've struggled with depression, anxiety, and a lot of stuff like that. There have been days where I'm like, not recently, but a few years ago, there were times when I would have days like, am I gonna make it? And hearing those stories from people, it makes a world of difference, man. It really does. And it just warms my heart to know, like, you can't even begin to describe it. And it just makes me wonder, like, wow. It seems so frivolous, like just doing videos on vacuums. Like, How is that a positive impact on the world? That's stupid. That's stupid, right? And to some people it may be. But hey, one thing that I learned that's a very important lesson that I have to tell myself this, and you should tell yourself this too, not just with this, but with any job that you do or any little way that you impact the world. It does not matter if you don't feel like your contribution does not impact, because it does. Not everybody has to change the world by being a doctor or a surgeon or a therapist or president or something like that. It can be in small ways. Helping somebody fix their vacuum that, especially back during COVID, their vacuum broke down. They really want to clean their house because they're worried about germs, and they don't have the money to buy a new vacuum because they just got laid off. And them knowing I can run to my Walmart, buy a belt and a filter for $15, and I can fix my vacuum and keep it running for another year, 2 years at least. Especially when so many other people are not willing to engage on that subject. So many people who advocate for right to repair. It frustrates me to no end. People that advocate to right to repair and will actively they will actively condemn a product and a brand for making what in their eyes is a disposable product. And then when the tools are right there to fix it, they'll tell you to dispose of the exact product that they're complaining is disposable. And it doesn't make any sense. Because why aren't you advocating for keeping this product running? Why are you advocating for needless e-waste? And then you realize why. Because they're trying to sell you something. So, with that said, thank you. Every single one of you. Whatever the reason is as to why you watch these videos. If you stumbled upon this because you were blessed by the YouTube algorithm or cursed, depending on who you ask, thank you. Thank you for stopping by, and consider staying for a while. There's a button for that. For those of you that have been watching since the beginning, thank you. For the people that have jumped in along the way, thank you. For the people that watch because you like the interesting perspective, or you feel there is one, thank you. For the people that watch because you're a fellow collector and you like seeing what other people in this community do, thank you. For the consumers that are watching these videos because you like to make good purchasing decisions based on what you feel is a valuable perspective, thank you. And I'm happy to help. And of course, for those of you who are watching who love vacuums, you know, your parents put on my channel and you're just really like the videos of me saving vacuums and fixing them up. Well, thank you. And do not, look at me, listen to me. Do not give up on what makes you happy because of peer pressure, because of a lack of support, or because you feel like you can't do it. Because you can. As long as your hobby is not hurting anybody, which if you're fixing vacuums, it hopefully isn't. As long as your hobby is not hurting anybody, then do what makes you happy. Seriously. And especially if what you're doing is helping somebody else out, or even just having a little bit of fun in a recreational way, in a productive way, that's awesome. And hey, you watching, I may not know you, but I'm damn proud of you. Keep up the great work. Anyways, for those of you I put to sleep, I apologize. Hopefully you have a good nap. And for those of you that are still awake, maybe you're listening to this in the background as you're cleaning or doing whatever else. First off, you missed a spot. And second of all, thank you. That's all there is to it. I know it's a cliche, but it's thank you. Because I would not be here today without you. And I mean that in the most literal sense. So thank you. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, rating it 5 stars, and posting your video responses below. In case you want to know how old I am. Anyways, there's a lot of more good stuff coming soon. So be sure to subscribe. But if you're watching this video, you probably are already. But again, thank you. There's... I just had a thought, but it just escaped me. There is part of me that wonders where we go from here. And there's part of me that's a little worried about the longevity of this channel. Even though I'm going to do my darndest to make sure that this channel goes as long as possible and maintains a fresh feel so it doesn't feel boring. So, please, I always welcome constructive criticism. I even welcome slightly negative criticism. Because at the end of the day, I would rather someone tell me why they didn't like the video, even if it's the same thing over and over again, than hit dislike and leave. Especially because I'm autistic. Like, I'm on the autism spectrum. A lot of people are. Sometimes I don't really know what's wrong unless you just tell me point blank. Otherwise, I'm not going to pick up on it. So, criticism and feedback is always greatly appreciated, and I will happily welcome any of it, as long as it's not unnecessarily vulgar, of course. You can be constructive and be critical and mention negatives without being mean and without being rude. But a lot of you guys know that already. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback like that, even recently. So, that's that. I'm going to continue working and trying to make this channel be better every day. This is still my main channel. So I have other channels that I've started up now. I have other projects that I'm working on. But this is still my baby, so to speak. This is still what demands most of my attention. So that is that. I've got some renovations to the channel in the works. Some of it's kind of pending right now. Some of you may be aware of the memberships that are still not quite working yet for some reason. I don't know why. And some other things I need to change, kind of freshen up the channel. There's some parts that are really stale that haven't been changed in a while, and I keep telling myself I'm going to do it, and I don't. Like the channel banner. I keep forgetting about that. But, anyways, I'm going to make it my goal to put even more into this channel, which I already have been, but just to do the improvements that I was mentioning. And try to make this channel better and make you guys like it more. Because that's the point, is to be helpful, to be useful, and hopefully save you some money along the way. Maybe bring you a laugh. I don't know. I don't know if I'm even funny. Some people say I am. Some people don't. I don't know. Either way, This is Intellitech Studios signing out with the entire history behind the channel for the last 8 years. Anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you to everyone who supports the channel, both passionately and tepidly. And I'll see you guys in the next video. It's been a great 8 years. Here's to 8 more. Cheers. Anyways, you know what I'm gonna say next. Anyways, this is Intellitech Studios signing out. I'll see you guys in the next video, and I hope you all have a good one. Peace. I love you.